determination arose within us to endure the sorrow well, to face it with faith. The pieces fell into place so we could depart immediately from our home in Canada to be with our daughter in Louisville. Through it all, God was so gentle, so kind, so present through His Spirit, and present through His people. In the skies somewhere over Ohio, in the dim light of a darkened aircraft, I began to write. I have often said that I don't know what I think or what I believe until I write about it. Writing is how I reflect, how I meditate, how I chart life's every journey. And so when the sorrow was still new in my heart, when the tears were still fresh in my eyes, when I barely knew up from down and here from there, I began to write. I had to write, because I had to know what to think and what to believe, what to feel and what to do. I had to know whether to rage or to worship, whether to run or to bow, whether to give up or to go on. I had to know how to comfort my wife, how to console my daughters, how to shore up my own faith. I put fingers to keyboard and pen to paper to find out. I wrote for my family, I wrote for my friends, I wrote for myself. I wrote my praise and my lament, my questions and my doubts, my grief and my joy. I wrote through depths of sadness and heights of joy, through terrible fears and agonizing pain. I wrote through seasons of sorrow. Some of what I wrote in the year that followed this evening was shared with the public on my personal website, challies.com. Most of it was not. In this book, I trace my journey through 4 seasons, beginning in the fall and advancing through winter, spring, and summer. It ends exactly 1 year after it began, on the first anniversary of the death of my beloved son, Nicholas Paul Challies. Season 1, Fall. Chapter 1, Unnatural. I awoke this morning with a tear in my eye. I awoke thinking, or was it dreaming, of a day long ago when Nick was just a little boy. He was only 3 years old at the time, and he had just become aware of the existence of death. But his capacity to wonder and to fear was far greater than his capacity to understand. Aileen was at a Bible study that day, and had taken baby Abby with her, so Nick and I had time to ourselves. We settled onto the couch to watch a children's movie together, and inevitably, as it drew to its close, one of the central characters died. I found myself watching Nick as much as the movie while this unfolded. I could see his body begin to quiver as the sorrowful soundtrack swelled. I could see tears begin to form in his eyes as he watched the loved ones gather around their fallen friend. I could see his face begin to crumple and fall. He turned to me and with tears spilling down his cheeks sobbed, "Daddy, why did he have to die? When is he going to come alive again?" I gently pulled Nick onto my lap and holding him tight in my arms reminded him of heaven. I told him that heaven is a place where God lives, where there is no more fighting, no more dying, and no more sadness. I told him that it is a place where boys and their daddies can be together forever. He tried to understand, but how is a 3-year-old mind supposed to grasp a concept as unnatural as death, as wonderful as heaven? And so we sat on the couch and we wept together. Nick put his head on my lap and cried about something he could not understand, something he was not created to understand. I stroked his hair and wept for this world, a world that was created perfect, but has long since been defiled by sin and death. I wept that a mere child needed to concern himself with matters so sad, so scary, so tragic. I asked Nick if I could pray with him. Wiping the tears from his cheeks, he said yes and closed his eyes. So I asked God if he would help Nick understand that death is not something to be feared if we love him. I asked God that Nick would trust Jesus to forgive his sins. And of course, I asked God to comfort Nick so that his young heart would not be troubled, but be at peace. And later that day, I sat at my desk and wrote these words. I wish I could explain to my son about the death of death accomplished through the death of Jesus Christ. I wish I could make him understand that if he places his trust in Jesus, he has nothing to fear in life or in death. I hope, I trust, I pray that such an understanding will come in due time, so that when someday Nick's eyes close in death,